Do you believe in a rapture?
Yes. Yeah, the scriptures are really clear about a rapture happening, and it talks about the Philadelphian church being kept out of it and the Laodiceans having to endure it.
Where do you fall in that range? You know, you've got 5 different categories: pre, mid, post, after, and to.
Yeah, the scriptures are really clear. It's pre. I can't tell you. I can tell you what day it will occur, and I can't tell you what year.
Okay.
It will absolutely occur on the Mikra of Trumpets, which is the Feast of Trumpets, which is the first day of Tishri, which is 7 new moons after the closest new moon to the vernal equinox. Mm-hmm. But it happens on the Feast of Trumpets.
Have you ever been invited to a mosque to speak?
No, I get invited to lots of churches and lots of synagogues, and I've done 1,500 hours of radio interviews, but...
Would it be safe to say, Craig, that you don't talk about the idea that the cross being a graven image?
Oh, absolutely, I do.
You talk about it
absolutely. I'll tell them that Christmas and Easter are pagan holidays, and that the Messiah's name is Yeshua, and God's name is Yahweh, and that church is based upon Church, which is the name of Helios' daughter, a sun god, and that Bible is the name of a pagan sun goddess. Absolutely. I mean, why should I not speak the truth?
Wow. It sounds to me like somebody might want to throw you out. It sounds like you question everything that the church is. Well, I guess that's. I can't call them church now, can I?
Everything that man does. Man is not worthy of trust. I am not worthy of trust. Men are not worthy of trust. Women aren't worthy of trust. The fact is that Yahweh proved that He was worthy of our trust when He inspired His scriptures with so many prophecies. The prophecies prove that He is unique from us, that He can maneuver in time and therefore predict the future. And therefore, I simply trust what He has to say. If men wish to say something else, that is their opinion, but the only opinion that I care about is what God had to say in His scriptures. And if it conflicts with what men want to teach, too bad.
Do you believe that the Lord is supernaturally protecting you? You mentioned you've got death threats. How do you deal with that?
When I was asked to go about this mission, and understand, my first week in this mission was at gunpoint. I went to ground zero for suicide bombers worldwide. I flew off to Israel, and after 10 days of meeting with Palestinian Authority ministers and Knesset ministers and Shin Bet and the Mossad agents, I found myself in a bunker in what's called Zone A, at gunpoint with Al-Qaeda, Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, and Oscar Martyrs Brigade, with them convinced that I was CIA, and children as young as 10 years old chambering rounds in automatic weapons and pointing them at my temple. So that is how I started this mission. I wanted to ask them directly, why are you killing us? And before I accepted that mission, I was touring Greece, sitting up in what used to be an old prison, closed now, and a person just handed me Psalm 91, and it became my marching orders. Psalm 91 is very clear in terms of Yahweh commitment to protect those who are willing to accept His marching orders. So, yes, I feel that based upon that Psalm 91, that I am...
Is that the one, Craig, is that where it says, He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High?
You betcha.
Abideth under the shadow of the Almighty?
You betcha.
Tell you what, I've had to abide under that shadow many times, or I would have been destroyed already.
That's good. That's the... It is, the power of that psalm to it, that Tea with Terrace, which is the book the first book I wrote on Islam. The plot of Tea with Terrace came right out of the 91st Psalm. Every aspect of it. It is why I was willing to go do what I have done, and it is my life assurance policy.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Craig, you're certainly out there. Well, I've been out there to where even I developed this radio program to get some of this information out, but standing next to you sounds like I'm a left-wing environmentalist, man. So,
no, I've just had the good fortune of being able to spend 6 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day for the last 3 years of my life immersed in the scriptures of Islam, where I've gotten to know Satan up close and personal. And by getting to know Satan, I was in a much stronger position to come to really appreciate the full magnitude of the teachings in Yahweh's scriptures. And for the last 6 months, every waking moment, I have been in them trying to convey to America, via The Future's History, this book that I'm writing on the amplification of prophecy, what Yahweh is really like, what he wants us to know, and what he had to say. And like for the last, 3 months, I've been just in one book, Hosea.
Uh-huh.
Hosea is a book that not only tells us precisely when Yeshua will return, and it tells us it's kind of the bridge between the Old and the New Covenant, but the beauty of Hosea is the audience he was speaking to is identical to America today. Just identical.
Okay.
And so when you read those words, it's just like you're having God come right down here and sit in the chair next to you and me and say, let's have a chat. Let me tell you what I like and what I don't like.
2 hours is not enough for you. It seems like you have an hour for each sentence, Craig.
We could talk about a lot of things. One of the things that would be really fun if we ever do this again, and you may have 4,000 emails that say, don't you ever let that guy back on your show again. But would be talking about what Scriptures actually has to say about Islam is a really interesting topic. Another one is what Scriptures predicts going to happen over these next 25 to 30 years. Those are fascinating, really riveting topics.
Yeah, well, excellent. I'd love to have you back on the show. There's so much that we're learning here tonight for the Edge listeners. Craig, I noticed that on your website you don't seem to have links to any of your interviews and other things. Do you announce these interviews, or are you trying to keep it low-key?
Well, I used to. I kept a calendar there during the time that I was actively doing interviews on Islam. And as I say, I did 1,500 hours of radio interviews and debates on Islam over the course of a 2-year period. I stopped doing them. And I stopped doing them principally because I realized that with most hosts and audiences, I was speaking an entirely different language. It's apparent that most Americans have not taken the time to understand their own scriptures, the scriptures of Islam, history, and we're so wrapped up in political correctness that we just don't seem to reason real well anymore. And I realized that this is a waste of time, what I'm doing. And so I came to the conclusion that the best use of my time would be to go back into the original scriptures, Yahweh's scriptures, reveal what they actually have to say, and for those that want to read them and understand them, at least there's individual hope, because I do not feel that there is any more collective hope for us as a nation.
Yeah, well, in the last hour, I guess in the last segment, in the second hour, you were saying that it would be great if everyone would get some software and some other versions, but that's not readily available. You mentioned the average Christian or the average American is. They're not going to do that. So in lieu of that,
it actually is readily available.
I'm sure that it is. I mean,
so there's probably 200 different versions that will do this, and there's one that's very cheap called QuickVerse.
Yeah.
I use Logos, which is quite expensive to do it electronically. But when I'm writing, I probably have 15 books open simultaneously, plus interactive software that gives me access to another hundreds. So, but the average person doesn't have to do it, but I'm willing to do it for you, both on Islam and on the Judeo-Christian scriptures.